I absolutely loved this.
Yay.
I did. I have an 18-year-old daughter who is not into horror, and I love this so much. I was like, Holly, you have to come up and watch this because this is classic. It is so good.
So glad.
Um, honestly, have you guys always been into horror? How did you come up with the concept? I mean, we've all been in those revenge, relationship type of situations, regardless. So I'm very curious as to how it came about. Were you guys all friends before this? How it was written? How you got involved with Etheria?
Yeah.
That's a lot. But...
I think we just wanted to have fun initially. Jess and I were in an acting class together with Emmy, and we were sitting at a park one day and just kind of frustrated with the lack of awesome roles, the lack of work. And so we wanted to create something that was fun, that we could use for experience and to show something cool to the world. And this is what came out.
It was. And so like Megan said, we kind of literally in a park in North Hollywood came up with this story and started crafting it based on the characters that we wanted to play and to have. And for me, the only thing I wanted to do was have an action scene. Like that's literally where it started. And I remember all of us had little things we were thinking of and then crafted the story around that. And then once, then we brought on David Greenman to help, with the script and a screenwriter. And then Amber so gracefully joined us, and we knew we wanted her from the very beginning, before we even met her. And then that first meeting we had with her, just her vision completely clicked with what we had in mind. And so it was just this beautiful merging of this incredible crew that includes even more fantastic people that came together to make this.
Absolutely. And Jessica, I have to say, I find it very funny that there's a guitar in your background, considering you're speaking.
And what's funny is that I'm not an actor. I my background is in news and documentary, and I worked in news for years in New York as a producer and director. I came out here and always wanted to do films, but it never even crossed my mind I could direct or I could, do, because all I was like, oh, if I want to do that, I need, as a woman, I need to be either an actor or a costume designer. And I literally tried both. And I all that to say, I love that this to me was like my acting, the culmination of my acting experience. I'm a director, followed watching Amber and another amazing women do it, gave me the courage to just follow that. And what was I going to say? Yeah, so I love that that's sort of my little bubble of acting. So that's actually really funny. I can't escape it, and I love it. It's not mine, it's my boyfriend's, but which is even funnier.
He's in big trouble then.
One of the funniest moments, in retrospect, funny. In the moment, it was less funny. We were doing that whole sequence, and our stunt coordinator, America Young, who is an incredible filmmaker in her own right, and director and writer, as a favor to us, came on board to craft the whole action sequence. And her husband, Dove, actually plays the guy that Jessica beats up. But we were in this incredible location up above the Hollywood Bowl, this old apartment, beautiful house apartment kind of thing. And we were trying to be really protective of the space because they had graciously given it to us to use. And we were doing the stunt, and we were kicking that guitar and we had a little accident, and we broke the big plate glass window that looked out over the Hollywood Bowl. And she'd put all this padding up, all these things to protect it, and we still ended up ruining this window. So I will forever think of guitars and windows when I think of She.
Yes, we didn't need to add a sound effect though, so bonus.
Exactly.
We still have that's still in the footage, in the raw footage, Amber, of just America's face, just everyone kind of freezing, and then you hear laughter, and we're all just like, oh well.
What are you gonna do?
It's what insurance is for.
That's right. So you guys said that you came up with your characters beforehand. Were those characters based in personal experience, or just were you inspired by something, or have you always been into? Yeah.
A lot of it started with genre.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to start with the story and like the fun types of roles that we wanted to play. So the more like character-y, like boyfriends and whatnot was an amalgamation of like everyone's experience. But we definitely started with like the genre pieces of like, oh, we want this one to be more of like a Mad Men character. Like I want to do more of like a cult witchy character. And then we all had our favorite movies from each of those genres, and we kind of mashed them together to then start to go into the story and create the little drama pieces that you see.
No. And I love it. What are some of you guys' favorite horror films or inspirations?
Oh, so many.
I'm the odd man out here because I am actually not the biggest horror person. This is what I love about this. I love comedy horror. I love that to no end. But I'm more of a fantasy action which you can see from what that character's is. It's a lot more, Sin City-esque or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I think for me, I'm the odd man out in that I prefer more of those fantasy elements, only because I get scared. It's the honest truth. It's just, yeah.
I mean, I was inspired from The Craft for my character, and it was one of those movies that I like wasn't allowed to see when it came out, so I wanted to see it even more. And I had super witchy vibes growing up, and now I'm kind of into holistic medicine and all of that, so it's definitely still very present in my life. But yeah, that's where at least that character came from. I would say maybe The Ring affected me the most as a human. I was, probably like 13, 14 and had a television at the end of my bed. So I've always been into horror, but not in a super nerdy way. I appreciate the feeling that it gives you in the safety of your own home and the artistry that it takes to create those emotions. But we definitely went on the deep end of like stylizing everything and just having fun with not even just horror genres. Like I think we hit almost every genre with Mad Men and with Buffy, Sin City, The Craft.
It was very funny. Yeah, it was. So Amber, have you always been into horror? Like, was this your, okay, perfect.
I love a good, give me some good psychological horror. Give me Rosemary's Baby and The Shining.
Yes, The Changeling,
Yeah, oh my gosh, all that stuff is so good. The Entity, like all this really like good, yummy psychological horror. But then I also love Night of the Creeps or Night of the Comet or Train to Busan. Give me a good like Night of the Living Dead run. Let's just do them all in an evening. No, I love horror. I think it's because it's such a great way to talk about things without getting on a soapbox. You know, we can talk about the things that we're dealing with. Like in Shevenge, I think it's really interesting. Because I think, when we talk about like the Me Too, Time's Up stuff, and we talk about like what it means to be a woman or a female identifying in our society, and how like when you get up there and you start like, doing the finger at people and going, that's not nice, be nicer to the ladies, people are just, they turn you off. But if you talk about it in a funny, humorous way or in a dark, twisted way, people get the message and they think about it. I think, I came from that Buffy world where, we were able to talk about really hot button issues without, turning the audience off so that they weren't interested. Like we could talk about what it means to have like a lesbian relationship on a TV show because we were talking about magic. And if you don't want to, if you don't want to take in that there are two women who are falling in love, you can just focus on the magic of it.
They're witches. Yeah.
They're witches doing magic. And so with Shevenge, we were talking about the way women are treated in our society, how women deal with each other, how women deal with relationships, and the male gaze. There are all these things that are kind of sort of baked into Shevenge that I think the ladies, when they were putting the film together, they wanted to talk about these things and to have fun at the same time, but they did want to sort of imbue the film with a more thoughtful sort of underbelly that you can take if you want, or you can just take the face value fun genre stuff.
No, absolutely. And that was one of the things I wanted to mention is that horror, quote unquote, is so, typically considered a man's world, and women are typically just the, you know, high-heeled victims running through the forest when they should be calling the police, etc. So I love the fact that just this strong group of ladies are behind this horror film, and you guys are definitely not the victims. The victims are, the, spoiler alert, the gentlemen who are tied up at the end. So I love
that you mentioned, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I love that you mentioned that, because I think that's one of the things that Etheria, I did not know before we had our screening out in the Egyptian theater, which was such an amazing night. And what these ladies have created with the film festival, with the anthology, with all of that, is just such support towards women genre filmmakers, women horror filmmakers. And that also applies to what you were talking about with horror. It applies to action. It applies to fantasy. It's just, you know, and so I think for all of us who are interested in those types of stories, it's very exciting, and we feel very grateful when we have an outlet to be able to share it.
Mm-hmm. No, I loved it. And also, this was a short, and I love horror shorts, but this was a short where I would like to see a full feature. I want to find out what happens. You know, what happens afterwards. Amber, any ideas? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
We were doing an interview recently, and we were talking about like, what if everybody switched partners? Like, you know, it's like this boyfriend didn't work for you, but if he's gonna send me cat memes, like, he totally worked for Jess's character. Totally. She just wants him to be nice to her, you know, and like maybe Megan would do better with you know,
the asshole. It was a funny concept, and it kind of morphed into like, what if it was a redo of 9 to 5 in today's world and today's standard, with the stories and the messages that we want to hit, and that, again, like Amber was saying, more heightened way to be able to digest the information that we are portraying.
Mm-hmm. We talked about Third Wife,
First Wives Club.
First Wives Club. Oh, thank you. We talked about that a lot. That was originally part of a genre version of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good.
No, it was fun with the slumber party and the Chardonnay, and it seemed like, oh, you know, these are just, you know, nice, fun girls. And then, no, you were strong, empowered, you know, characters with visions. And Megan, like you said, 9 to 5. I definitely got the 9 to 5 vibe from this, and just the revenge, quote unquote, fantasies. But then it turned out to not be a fantasy, and these, you know, a-hole boyfriends at your feet, literally, at the end. And I loved that.
Less people think that this is like a man-hater film. This is not. Some of the ladies definitely could like use some therapy to work on their issues.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's more about like, you know, how do we make relationships work in a positive way? If they're not working, maybe we don't need to tie them up, but it's funny in the context of a short horror film to do that, but maybe not in real life. We don't need to go there.
Conversations work wonders.
Yeah. It's therapy.
Communication. Yeah.
This is all about go to therapy, couples.
Yeah. I don't think it was literally endorsing and beating up your boyfriends that you like and tying them up and deciding what to do with them. But
Sometimes there are days.
It's fun to think about, yes. But I've really appreciated you guys talking to me. I hope to see more of you in the future. I know COVID right now has really affected performers, directors, you know, actors, everybody. Do you guys have anything in the wheelhouse right now? How are you dealing with being, you know, artists and this time?
Oh, goodness. For me, it's actually been the opposite, where I've been super busy and super productive. I'm filming a horror movie next weekend that I'm just acting in, which will be such a vacation. And then I've been editing a TV series that I filmed last September that's just digging into these same topics, but in a more realistic way, in a less heightened genre version, more talk show vibes, and supporting our next generation of women that are being greatly affected by this and society and the internets. So I'm glad we could start it on a fun genre bending note when you know, the whole women in film revolution was beginning.
For me, yeah, same. I think I'm very grateful and feel lucky that I've been able to stay busy. I have another short that I directed called In Hollywoodland that's in festivals right now. So doing the virtual version of festivals has been interesting, but it's interesting because it's also a similar genre film. It's a dark fantasy that also talks about being a woman. Specifically, it was written by an actress, Yetida Badaki from American Gods, and her experience as a woman and a Black woman in Hollywood, but it's told through this allegory of Alice in Wonderland. So another way, again, of what you were saying of using genre to talk about things that sometimes people don't want to listen to. And that one's doing the festival rounds right now, so people can see it at Catalina, at Holly Shorts. I think we have Charlotte coming up. And then, yeah, same, I'm working from home. I'm working on a feature doc, and so it's heavily archival, so thank goodness. I'm very grateful I'm able to, I keep pointing to my editing suite, but yeah, so keep staying busy and, you know, as much as we can and productive. Yeah.
Perfect.
Zoom has taken over my life. I've been out pitching a TV show, and we are Zoom pitching, and it's so bizarre to be out there trying to get people excited about a script and a you know, a package. And you can't actually interface with them in reality. You're sort of limited to, you know, this like little box of people that you're pitching to. So that has been, I don't like it as much. I prefer to be in the room when I'm out there trying to get stuff made. This is much harder. But at least, you know, we're still out there doing things. We're all making things, and, you know, it makes me so happy when, like, I hear Megan and Jess talking about the other things that they're working on, because when we were doing Shevenge, you know, they were just beginning the journey of being creators and filmmakers in their own right. And to see both of them making their own stuff now, I really feel like more women, more people of color, more LGBTQ, like we just need those voices. They're really important right now. We've heard the heteronormative cisgender white male story told in a zillion different ways, and there's a place for it in the world, but we are getting bored. We need new voices, new points of view. So the fact that these ladies are out there doing their stuff makes me really excited.
Amber, are you still working on the Witches of Echo Park?
Yeah, that's what we've been out pitching. We wrote a pilot for it, and we attached a very well-respected female director who I'm not really allowed to talk about.
Sorry.
But she's definitely comes from a vampire world. So we've been out with that, and it's been an amazing experience. But like I said, it's less fulfilling to be pitching on Zoom and talking to people on Zoom. I'm in a room person. I need the energy, the feeling of being, you know, like face to face with the person you're trying to get, you know, to buy your product. Feel like a salesman without, like, you know, a real way of interfacing.
Right. As much as we try the vibes via Zoom or, you know, via text, whatever, it's just not quite the same as being face to face. But
no.
I think you're all doing awesome with the new normal. And
well, we get to talk to you. This is fun.
Yeah, I would love to keep talking to you ladies for like another hour, but I think our time is about up. But I absolutely, as I said before, I loved Shevenge. I wish you all the best in your future. I know that you're going to be successful, and like I said, this has been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lori.
I'm so glad you dragged your daughter in, made her watch. That makes me happy.